recently been laid off and had several interviews for open positions. It made me notice certain signs that the interviewers give you during the interview that already mean thanks but no thanks, even if you're thinking the interview is going well. I'm going to share the signs I've seen so far with you today because I don't want you to be super hopeful, checking your emails every now and then to see if you've got that job offer when in reality it's a no already. Sign number 1, the phantom role. When they tell you something like, we're still figuring out the specifics of this job, or we're not in an immediate rush to fill this position, this job does not exist. They are using you as a test subject. They're testing the water to see what a potential job description could look like, what salary expectations people have, and what kind of person would actually fit their team by talking to people like us. Oftentimes the budget for these kinds of positions hasn't even been approved yet, and they don't even know yet if they're going to hire anyone. How do I know this? I know it firsthand from a company I previously worked for, where we were hiring a member for our team, and we didn't actually have the budget approved yet. And our boss was basically saying, why would we go into this negotiation of budget approval if you have no one in the pipeline yet? Why don't you just first interview people and then we discuss? And guess what? We had several interviews and we didn't end up hiring anyone, and there was no budget ever approved for this. Honestly, sometimes this can be a blessing in disguise because especially if you've been laid off recently, you're more vulnerable, you want stability. And working for a company that is kind of chaotic like this and is messing with people's feelings like this as well might not be the right fit for you. Sign number 2, the other candidates. Now, another sign that you might not actually get that job is if they, in your interview, explicitly mention that they are interviewing loads of other candidates. Now, this happened to me recently. At the end of an interview, they were saying that this whole process could take lots of time, several weeks, because they are interviewing several different candidates. And of course, this could just be a fact because I see the positions and I see that they have lots of applicants, for example, on LinkedIn. But also you kind of have to read the room here because they're trying to manage expectations. They're trying to keep your expectation low and not get your hopes up that you might be getting the job because they are explicitly saying there are so many other candidates and we're not locking you in just yet. If they're excited about you, they will focus on you and they will nail down the exact next steps with you. Sign number 3, the missing Q&A. Now, this is when they don't ask you whether you have questions at the end of the interview. That is really strange because every interview has this structure that at the last 5, 10, or even 15 minutes, they will be reserved for answering a candidate's questions. If they don't ask you whether you have questions, it kind of indicates that they don't want to spend all of the time getting deep in about their culture and about their mission and value as a company because they mentally already decided that you might not be the candidate they want to move forward with. Sign number 4 is the race to the finish. This is a more obvious one. If the interview ends significantly early, so let's say it was scheduled for 60 minutes and it ends after 30 minutes, that is not a good sign. Of course, it can mean sometimes that you were just very efficient, you answered every question on point and just had an answer out of the park for everything. Chemistry might have been good, but that's rare because even if that was the case, then the interviewers would still use the remaining minutes to answer your questions, to get deeper into your previous work experience, and so on. But other than that, if they wrap it up way earlier than actually planned for, then it can usually indicate that there might not be the connection there, or you might have said something that doesn't really line up with what they're looking for. Sign number 5 is the vague goodbye. This is when there is a complete lack of concrete next steps. Because if they're excited about you and they want you now, because they will also be scared that you might be getting an offer from another company in the meantime. So they don't want to drag it out forever. So ideally, at the end of the interview, they will say, we will get back to you by Thursday, by email, or by end of the week, or something like this. If they don't say this, you should definitely ask for this in the interview. If you forgot to ask it, just write them an email to ask about the status of the application. But often in interviews, the people are too polite to say no to your face, or maybe they're just too much of a coward to say no to your face. So what they will say instead is, I'll be in touch. And that's the equivalent to someone having a first date with you and saying, I'll call you. Well, they might not even have your number. And you should probably not expect to get a yes from that. If you start to see these signs, you might want to believe them. But try not to take it personally. because it's not about you or your skills. It might have just been that it's not a good match. So don't put all of your eggs in one basket and suddenly stop applying to jobs. You should keep the momentum and keep on applying to jobs until you have an actual signed offer. Now, let me know in the comments, what are some of the wildest red flags that you've recently seen in interviews? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.